Manly v. the Cowboys. I reckon if Seabold went to sleep and had a dream about the perfect game of his rugby league.
Sorry.
It's really uncalled for. Very uncouth there. So the time Seabold went to sleep in McDonald's, I reckon he was dreaming of this game. Because I reckon Manly played the best ever version of what Seabold would try to put together. Like, I reckon that is truly what type of rugby league he has always wanted to play with the team he's been given. And so, yeah, I reckon he was dreaming about that in McDonald's.
Yeah. For me, it was almost the game I was dreaming of too, because I had Manly minus 6.5, Haumole any time, which he scored in the 3rd minute, and I was hanging out on turbo like everyone else. Can you believe that? The $1.50 shot.
It was like trying not to try,
trying
not to score.
But that aside, they were very impressive.
Oh, mate, they were incredible. But yeah, like I just think that we witnessed Manly play the perfect vision of what Seabold's vision is. They were unbelievable, side to side as much as they wanted to, but then they had Paseka straightening things up when they needed him to. They had DC with the ball on an absolute string. Haumole just a wrecking ball. It was almost the perfect game from Manly, maybe aside from, I don't know, last 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, but it was almost the perfect game. Seriously, they were outstanding.
Yeah, they were. And when you look at this squad on paper, they're going to do this plenty of times this year. And I don't know, I'll probably sound like a bit negative here, but I look at Manly and I look at Cronulla, and I know what they can do to 14 teams in this competition. It's just, are they going to be able to do this against the Melbourne Storm, the Penrith Panthers, those sort of sides? That's the only question I've got around those two teams.
They did beat Penrith and they did beat the Roosters. I think they beat Melbourne Storm last year as well.
They beat them all.
Yeah. So it has happened.
Beating them when it counts, though, is the difference. And I know I'm being a bit negative, but we're here to win comps. And that's why I look at Manly, I look at the squad they've got, and they have to be able to do it and peak at the right time, which is, I think if you have a look at Manly's draw, they've got about 5 weeks coming up in about 4 weeks where they play Melbourne, Cronulla. I think they might play Penrith twice or something. I think that'll be a really good gauge on the Manly Sea Eagles of where they're at. Because I have no doubt they're going to blow teams out for the next 4 weeks. They're going to look sensational. That's the sort of footy side they are. You just want to see it against those top sides.
Yeah, I'm with you, but they couldn't do much more than what they did.
As I said, you can only play who's in front of you. I get that. But I look at them like the Sharks, and I'll give them raps every single week when they beat up on teams because they're better than the vast majority of sides. I just want to see them go to that next step this year.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
I'm on board. I'm not a hater like Lou. Yeah. I mean, I was on board with him before the preseason, so to see them come out and do it, 42-0 after 56 minutes.
Is a toweling. And
I think, to Rue's point, I probably looked at him in terms of, right, can they beat the best when it matters at the end of the year? And a bit like probably the Sharks in recent years prior to the signing of Adam Fanil-Blake, it's gone, all right, are they just one gun forward short of beating these teams? And look, maybe they still are. And there hasn't been a massive change in personnel, but I do look at 3 players who there. Toa Sipley and Taniela Paseka. Granted, it's one game. It's the Cowboys pack that wasn't the best.
And Paseka's been pretty good for a whole year.
Paseka has.
Yeah.
I thought Sipley looked fantastic. And then you add in Siwa Takiaho, who's such an interesting case because he's 33 years old. He played 10 games in 2 years for the Catalans in the Super League. He looked really good as well, only a short stint, but they don't necessarily need big minutes out of him. If he can get anything close to sort of what we've seen him in the past at the Roosters, your middles all of a sudden just looked that little bit different. I also think, again, we've spoken about it, but the way they play their footy, they're not as reliant on the middles. They go side to side, they use the ball, and they get a lot of yardage doing that. So, yeah, I love what I saw earlier, and I think if Tom Trbojevic stays fit for the season, I think he could walk in a Dally medal, and I think they can at least be in the hunt for a premiership.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they made a prelim last year with Tommy injured for the final series. Mate, I really think they could not have done much. They could not have done much more to show that they're the best versions of themselves. Yep, I agree with you, Root. Can they do it in finals footy against the best teams in the competition? We'll see, but I won't hold it against them if they can't, because I don't think their squad is as good as Penrith or Storm.
No, for sure. And I'm not holding it against them. All I'm saying is they're going to do this to so many teams. And I'm not going to sit here for the next 27 weeks and just give it all positive about all these guys, because I know they're going to kill it every week. It's just, all I'm saying is that I want to see if they're able to do it against those top sides and take them to that next level. Because seeing that they're able to do this at home against the Cowboys, are any of us surprised?
I mean, I didn't think they would win 42-12.
Are you surprised that Manly have got this in them, though?
Like, against the Cowboys, to just tell, like, am I surprised that they have it in them? It's one thing to say, like, am I surprised, but it's a really good game. Like, they've played really, really well. Like, it's like saying, like, if Penrith come out and beat Cowboys 42-12, we'd all be sitting here going, holy shit, Penrith Panthers are so dominant. Like, we would, but we wouldn't be sitting here going, oh, you know, well, I just want to see what they do at the end of the year. You know, yeah, they can beat the Cowboys. And I just think
That's because I know what Penrith are going to do at the end of the year. I know what they're capable of. They've proven it. Manly haven't for me yet.
Yeah, but, like, they can only play what's in front of them. Like, I agree with you.
And I open with that. Like, I'm stressing that at the start. I just, like, fuck. I think me sitting down the camera telling you guys, these guys played really well. Like, they won 42-12. People at home know they played well. I'm just telling you what my long-term thoughts are on the Manly Sea Eagles.
What do you reckon, Hammy?
I'm not surprised here. I had them 13 plus in face of music, but I will say I think they're going to be very tough to beat, particularly at home this year a lot, because that thing's selling out every week now, and it's just like an absolute.
There's a vibe around it, isn't there?
There is a massive vibe there, which is awesome to watch when you're in neutral. A little bit tough when you're an away fan, but I think they did look very impressive. I feel like they're better set up this time. You know, I mean, touch wood. Hopefully, Tommy go every year. It's like they can challenge if Tommy's fit. But if let's say something happens, and I hope it doesn't, because I want to see Tom Travojevic fit. I want to see him challenge for another Dally M and lead him to have a charge at the premiership. But if he does go down, they've now got like a guy like Lehigh in the team who potentially can go back there, and I still think they can be a threat to the toughest teams in the comp. From that perspective, I was really impressed with their forwards, because last year maybe that was a little bit of a question mark around them. But I thought guys like, you know, Paseka, Takiaho and Sipley were all outstanding. Those guys went to another level, which I was potentially a little bit surprised to see, because we know all the flair and stuff that they got in the back line and all that sort of stuff. But I thought they looked a lot more well-rounded, and everyone really, you know, got stuck in this week compared to, that was probably the surprise for me. The forward pack looked a lot more damaging across the board in this game.
Yeah, they played bloody well. Now, onto some individual performances. We've already spoken quite a bit about DCE. I will say, like, it is crazy. Who do you reckon the smallest bloke on the field is? You reckon Lehigh?
Lehigh, yeah.
Most metres, 223 metres. Like, that's insane.
Mate, that aerial attack, that was...
People don't understand how hard that is.
Fuck. We said it over the last few weeks. I think we all agree that, like, he genuinely could be one of the best players in the competition over the next few seasons. And the stuff he's capable of doing is just ridiculous.
Like, to catch the ball, turn your body, and then offload it before you've hit the ground, whilst also you're in contact, that is, like, almost impossible to do. It's hard enough just catching the ball whilst running at full pace. He's turned his body whilst running at full pace, whilst offloading the ball, landing in the, like... This kid is absolutely special. And what's insane, he's not even doing it in his best position. And also, he hasn't even filled out yet. Like, he literally can get way more muscular across legs and the upper body. Like, he's already strong. Imagine once he hits 24, 25 years old, he's just going to be a problem. And the scary thing is I think his ball playing is already pretty good. Like, is it Scotty Drinkwater level yet? Not yet, but I think that he has the talent to potentially get to that level, ball playing specifically. His ball running is already pretty much there, if not better. He's just special. He is just special.
I love to see Luke Brooks playing both sides of the ruck too, just popping up on the right-hand side. I think it can add another dimension to their attack this year.
Because you've got to worry about him, man.
100%.
Whereas before you just had to go, where's DCE? And like, I'll just worry about that. And so it's just, like outside of the last 10 minutes, then second half they might have taken their foot off the pedal, but it is what it is. Like, it's round one footy. They really could not have done much more. They were so bloody good, and just the style of rugby league they played, just that back and forth. But Lehigh Olakau'atu, we are looking at a very special talent. Like, his highlight reel over such a small period of time would be friggin' unbelievable. He could quit now and have a full career of friggin' highlight reel. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, Haumole Olakau'atu for me. I know we sort of touched on him earlier in the show, but
wow.
He set up a try for Tommy. I think he slid out the back and might have hit Tommy Turbo, who then tipped on to Jason Saab. And it was, not to say he hasn't sort of played that shape before, but it reminds me a little bit of a few seasons ago now, maybe 3, where Penrith, I'm sure it's Penrith with Kickow, started getting him sliding out the back of the lead runner and being used as the ball player. And I just went, fire, you're one of the most devastating ball runs in the game, who's now added this ball play into his game. I just saw that with Olakau'atu as well, who's added another string to his bow. He's already one of the most well-rounded players in the competition, certainly back rowers. But to see him just sliding out and using his ball playing a bit as well, because he was always sort of a hard line runner, they'd often just DCE and still will, just give him early ball and just go, mate, just do your something. Damage. But for him to do that, he slid out the back another time. We mentioned it earlier, but got one-on-one with Purdue. It was like never stood a chance, the poor bloke. Olakau'atu is in for a huge year.
Yeah, the scary thing is that the positive for the Manly Sea Eagles, and granted, you always want to have Tommy there at the back, but like pre-Haumole hitting the level he's hitting, it was really relying on Turbo creating momentum and speed and space. Now, DCE just goes, Bop, Haumole, get me some momentum. It's like Kickow with his years at Penrith. They would literally just give him to Kickow if they were ever under the pump, and he would just go, boom, momentum, and all of a sudden they would just find meters or find space and tries after it. And the problem is as you just said, so the first time they get down there, he goes out the back and hits that centre and scores. The second time, literally the second time they get down there, they know that they're going to have to spot him and target him and make sure they plant their feet because they're so worried about getting bumped. So he just goes, I'll just play at the back. So all of a sudden, you've got this guy that you have to mark up no matter what. You can never slide off on him because if you do, he will absolutely tear you apart. He can also ball play now. It is just like a scary
There was
prospect.
even one there where I think it was Daly Cherry Evans' try where I think it was a bit of second phase play and whatnot, and it was a bit scattered. But they end up being back out on the right edge, and Cherry Evans, who probably shouldn't have had the space to dive over and score the way he did, they're all just looking at Olakau'atu going, if he finds Olakau'atu, well, he's going to run over us again. So Ches just went, dummy, thanks for coming.
Yeah, and that's the scary prospect about Olakau'atu is like he has everything in his game now. Like his defence is good, he's got good hands, he's fit, and he's absolutely terrorising defence every time he runs the ball.
And he's got work rate. Like he's got it all.
Good attitude. He's a leader now. He's a part of the leadership. He's a vice captain, I'm pretty sure. Jeez. Or at the very least in the leadership group. Like, he genuinely might end up to be the captain of the club. But granted, I assume Tommy Turbo will get it probably first. But, like, who knows? Like, Haumole could end up with the captaincy because he's become such a leader.
And he did all that and had 20 tackles and didn't miss one.
Just a special talent.
Tell you what, just like coming off round one, having a look at performances, how impressive Manly were. Melbourne Storm, round 5, 4 p.m. at Four Pines Park.
That'll be spiteful.
That is going to be a cracker.
Oh my God. Wow. Melbourne Storm versus Manly.
That's their third game in a row at home too.
Wow.
That place is going to be pumping over the next few weeks.
They've got to try to stack their points up early, I reckon, Manly, because they're probably going to have a lean run home, like as in not many home games, I'd assume, if they've got this many home games early. Or at least at some period during the season. I will say, I reckon Olakau'atu is a really good guy for Nanai to look across at and go, I probably need to really look at what Olakau'atu did in his game. Granted, they are different body shapes. Like Nanai's probably not as big. You know, I mean, he's nearly as big. But it's just that consistency because Haumole started similar to Nanai where like there were games where we kind of drop in and out of and defensively, and he's just built and built and built. And I think Nanai, granted, he's still like 22 or something like that, still super young. He could probably look across and go, you know what, that's probably where I should end up in a couple of years or so, or even this year, because they both have similar talent levels. But outside of that, in regards to like good performances, we've already spoken about him a bit, but I thought Paseka was outstanding. Really, really good. And Paseka has always had the ability to be a top-tier front rower. And I felt last year he took a step towards being a top-tier front rower. And if he just keeps building on last year, there's no reason why he can't be one of the more damaging front rowers in the competition, in my opinion.
Really good start to the season, wasn't it, for him?
Outstanding.
I think he picked up an injury in the trials, did he? A few weeks ago, and there was a little bit of concern around him. No signs of that over the weekend. Looked
outstanding. Saab, 5 line breaks. He's just like... His ability to just, break the line or... create space, speed, try assists, tries himself. Like, he really is. Although he's not the build of an old school winger because he's so big, he is like an old school winger where it's like, yeah, you want him to come in and take hit-ups, but at the end of the day, he's there just to put points on. Like, he will put points on if you just give him an inch of space.
And like, he just suits Manly perfectly, right? They they don't necessarily have the best pack in the NRL. It's solid, but if they win a comp, it's probably not going to be due to forward dominance. They use the ball, they look to strip numbers, and you get an inch of space. And the bloke runs the 100 in 10.5 flat. Like,
so quick.
He's there to... What Manly do so well is, sure, they create these attacking opportunities, but we mentioned the Knights who did it as well against the Tigers and couldn't capitalise. Manly make you pay every single time, because let's say it's a Saab or a Lehigh Hopewada who make that break down the edge. Kohler in support, Garrick in support, Tom Trebojevic in support, Daly Cherry-Evans also a fantastic support player. When they go through, there are bodies that just stack up in support, and they finish it more often than not.
Yeah, that back line is just electric, absolutely electric. I mean, and like, you've got Kohler still sitting out there who was also just as quick as him. So a bloody good game for Manly, and I just think that Brooksy had 164 run meters. Wow, I did not know that. Isn't it just been a perfect spot for Brooks?
Yes.
Just like out of the spotlight.
Yep. Don't worry about managing everyone. Yep. Just get the ball, run, play what you see. You know, you got the guy there doing the probably one of the best game managers in the game. But yeah, it's been the perfect kind of balance for
playing to his strengths.
Correct, for their team.
You know what's insane? He had more kicking meters than DCE. Which just, like, again, that's exactly where you want Brooksy to be. Just flying under the radar. No pressure. Just getting through your work. Because he had 9 kicks and DC had 9 kicks. DC had 234 kick meters and Brooksy had 336. So literally 100 more meters, the same amount of kicks. Like, that's heaven if you're Manly, because you're sitting there going, we got two halves that, like, DC obviously a much better kicking game, but two halves that can kick quite well. If there's ever pressure on DC, Brooksy can just step up. So great stuff. I think Tokiaho, because Nathan Brown is injured, is he?
Yeah, he must be.
He must be, yeah.
Pretty sure he's injured. Jazz Tavanga coming in, playing hooker for a bit, did all right.
Did Takiaho pick up an injury in this? I think he played the 22 minutes.
I'm not sure.
I think he might have had. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Jazz Tavanga at 9, got the job done.
Got the job done.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
What about my man Ethan Bullymore as well? Unbelievable off the bench. Another meat pie, 140 odd metres. I just think they've got such a well-rounded forward pack with a lot of depth now. And again, going back to last year, like, great backline, great halves, forward pack. A few people need to step up, but I just think they've really got all the ingredients there now.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, on to the Cowboys. Ouch. There is not much to say about this game for the Cowboys, unfortunately. It's round 1. They're almost in a bit of a similar situation to the Roosters. Like, granted, they haven't had the rosters as strong in previous years, and they've gone probably a little bit better than the Roosters in previous years. But, this was, I wouldn't say a disaster because it's round 1, but it can't get much worse for a round 1 performance with a side that has decent players in it. With guys like Reece Robson, you got Dearden, you got Scotty Drinkwater, you got Nanai, you got Cotter. There is still Taulagi. There is still some really good players in this side. I think Payton is always been really strange because, last year when they went on that losing streak and they were struggling, there's, maybe there's a bit of pressure. There was actually reports, okay, there's pressure. And then all of a sudden they go on a run. He's all good. But I do think that this year there is probably going to be a bit of pressure on Payton because they just didn't respond to him this game.
Didn't they just ran out in this one. They got punched in the face and they just never recovered. And it's the NRL. It's going to happen, but they just weren't able to regroup themselves in any way, shape, or form.
You're right. They just blown off the park early, and I feel like they got the roster to hang in battles and that. They just looked, I don't know. So I don't know where Payton goes. How does he get a response from? He said he asked them the question. They need to, answer that question themselves. But I think he's under a bit of pressure. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, pretty ordinary. And 42-12, they scored 2 tries very late on in the piece as well to, get them on the board. And a lot of concerns there at the Cowboys, defensively very, very poor. And, round 1, sometimes you can just go, boys, we didn't come out of the box. We started slow, you put a line through it and you go, we move on. But, they completed at 85%.
I know.
And it still ended up 42-12. For us, the starting 17 of the Cowboys, as you alluded to, Campy, it's still a pretty strong side. But to come out and have 85% completion and get that done to you, it's ordinary.
Like they just look flat. Yeah. They look so flat. So, did they have, what's their training like? Was their preseason too big? Was it too little? Are they unfit? I don't know. But I guess the frustrating thing, for Cowboys fans is like everyone has known for quite a few years now, defence is their biggest issue. And they've come into a new year and struggling.
And what's more concerning is, and I'm almost certain these players will bounce back because they're too good not to, but it was defensive issues among their best players. So Tommy did, and cut him a bit of slack. He had Olakau'atu run at him, so that's a nightmare. But even like Reece Robson missed 2 tackles that I think both led to tries, or one led to a try and one might have been a try, the one later. One was the one on Tommy Turbo, which was where he went straight through the middle of the field, one off the ruck, off a normal play, the ball speed, went through Nanai and Robson, just inexcusable. There was another one on I think it might have been the Tyler Sipley try, where I said Robson's good enough that he'll bounce back, but when it's happening to your key players and your better defenders, it's like, it's a concern.
Well, the worrying thing now is like, teams are going to look at this and go, oh, we actually can target Dearden. And granted, they don't have Olakau'atu bloody on their edge. But, I struggle to take many positives. Like Braden Burns ran for a bunch of metres. Like, that's really good to see. But it just really isn't. Because as you said to me, like they completed relatively well. So it's not like they just kept dropping the ball and that just to put him in the game. They look flat. They look
dumb errors, turning over possession. Yeah, okay, it was just a shocker. That didn't happen.
It didn't happen. It was just genuinely they just got blown off the park.
I'm hoping we look back in 2 or 3 weeks and go, they just got sucked into the black hole that is Brookvale Oval. A lot of teams
which could happen.
Which could happen, but I agree with everything you both said. I'm a lot more nervous than that.
And I look at the Cowboys, though. If there is a team that could, in 4 weeks, all of a sudden be the best attacking side in the competition and they're just winning with their attack, it is the Cowboys. I can see that happening.
They could lose the first 6 in a row, then win their next 6th.
Yeah.
That's just the Cows, right?
At the moment. And I guess that's also, it's the biggest plus that they can bounce back as well as they do. But at the same time, again, defence continues to be their issue. Like, I'm sure Peyton, if he had hair, he'd be pulling it out because he's going, I'm sure surely he spends a lot of his preseason on defence. Don't you all agree? Surely he does.
It's a big, part of the game that they've been probably need to improve. So you'd imagine so.
And so he's like, he's probably like, how do I get these guys to either buy in or is the system right or whatever? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and the next few weeks are going to be very interesting. They play the Sharkies 2 weeks to prepare, into the Broncos, Raiders, Panthers, South Sydney. It's a tough draw. A couple of very big games there with a couple of teams that like to score points, especially the next 2. If they don't get that sorted, Sharks into Broncos the next 2 weeks, they could have 120 points against them in the first 3 weeks. If those 3 teams light it up, and what we saw on the weekend is what they're going to be like in defence, it could get ugly. It might be the 3 last teams you want to play realistically.
They're in a tough spot. They're in a really tough spot. I've got to give Dearden credit for his toughness. At no point, so he spent the whole first half just getting ran at by Olakau'atu, and then because he tried to shot Olakau'atu, he got bumped into next week. Like the bravery to do that after you've just been ran over for a half of footy, it just shows you why he's one of the best players in the NRL, in my opinion. Yes, you can look at the fact that he missed these tackles or whatever, and that's where they were going. But at the end of the day, the ticker he showed was like as good as you can get.
Put it this way, the amount of times, and this comes back to the blokes that were inside him as well, that Manly were able to isolate Olakau'atu on Tommy Dearden. There's not probably a half in the competition who's making that tackle one-on-one with Olakau'atu with full steam.
Well, the direction should be going out. Don't give DCE time to isolate him. I want DCE getting jammed as soon as he touches the ball. Yes, you can leak more points because if you miss that tackle, they go back inside or whatever. But I just felt like they failed to adjust all game. They just allowed DCE just to go, sweet, heaps of time.
I think they were just on the back foot the whole time. I don't know if they could have adjusted. They were just...
Yeah, I just feel like there were times where they were coming off their own line and, you just tell your 4 defender, mate, sprint at DCE. Just sprint at him.
Yeah.
Take him off his game.
I know I'm probably quite critical of him, but it's because I hold him in such high regard, as a rep footballer, but like Jeremiah and I boys, 58 minutes, 2 runs for 16 metres and defensively just wasn't there. Like, it's a similar storyline every year with him.
Yeah, it's tough. It is really, really tough. Because, didn't they move him sides as well?
Yep, swap sides.
And so what do you reckon that was like? Do you reckon it was to help Was it to put Bateman with the rookie, Duffy, do you think, defensively?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they looked at that. That's probably a fair call. Maybe they looked and went, look, we don't really want Nanai and Duffy there on debut defending together.
Whereas Nanai and did, and it sounds like a much stronger edge together potentially. Because, you know, Bateman did make, I think it was like 44 tackles, 4 miss, which is okay on an edge. Okay. Nanai was 23, 3 miss, but anyway.
I thought in a shit fight, geez, Duffy defended well, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, he did his best. Seriously, 25 tackles, only 1 miss.
Yeah,
96,
in that game, yeah.
And 96.15 tackle efficiency, like at a half. That's bloody outstanding.
Imagine that being your debut and like you're expecting first grade to be fast, but then you get out there and it's 18-0 after 10. You're just going, what has happened here?
There are a few poor old blokes who had like their debuts this weekend, and it was just like Riley Smith for the Eels coming onto the field in that game, like Tom Duffy in that game. There was another one in there in a blowout. In the Roosters. Rob Toya just going like, oh, what a debut.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Cleary debut in Melbourne, 40 tackles. Just going, what the fuck is going on here? He'll learn from that Duffy. And yeah, it's just like even looking at Cotter. Reuben Cotter, 58 metres. Like they were just like, they just could not make metres, which is, I wonder that's just, you know, I'm just trying to look at the team stats of possession. Like 57% possession that's probably the reason why, to a degree. You know, also, is it Manly because they spread it a lot? Their front row has a lot of energy in defence, similar to what Penrith do, where they, you know, kind of make their outside backs make a lot of metres and then use their line speed. I'm not sure. But yeah.
It's up as well for them, obviously, with everything going on in Queensland. None of the reserve grade teams played in the Q Cup this week, so your next fringe down guys didn't even get to play a game to show what they can do to maybe come into that side.
Yeah. Shout out to Cohen Hess, you know, in a team that was in 29 minutes, he actually ran for 129 metres in a team that was well beaten. It's pretty good for in the middle.
Come back from that lengthy layoff as well.
Yeah,
good
so
sign.
Hopefully they can move him maybe into a starting role if he continues to play this well.
I thought Sam McIntyre was probably best in that forward pack.
Yeah.
Almost got to 100 metres, but I think how many tackles did he get through? 36, none missed.
None
good
missed.
little knock there.
97% tackle efficiency. Look, if I'm the coach, I'm just going, boys, men in black, delete that from your mind. Just forget it.
Pick the same 17 next week.
Yeah, just go again and just round one footy. We got blown off the park by a red-hot Manly side at home that plays a very unique style of footy that's hard to prepare for, and just go again.
Yeah, back at home next week.
Which will be huge.
One thing I thought was interesting, which I don't know if you'll care, Kempy, but I found it odd from a Supercoach point of view. Tom Duffy kicked the first goal, and Scott Drinkwater kicked the second one. What do you read into that? Give us your expert analysis.
Mate, you got to pay for that. I don't know why you keep trying to get freebies out of it. It's unbelievable. Jeez Louise. Maybe they're NRL fantasy players and they just hate Supercoach or something.
That'll work. Was it edges? Was it edges?
I don't know. I'm not sure. That's what I thought in the trial, but it wasn't
they did same in trial, like where they both kicked. I don't know what's going on.
Was it because they're left and right?
Well, I think Drinky scored under the post, didn't he?
Drinky scored under the sticks, and Duffy kicked it, and then the other one was, who was the other try scorer?
Burns.
It's on the right-hand side. And
so maybe on the edges they make Drinky kick, and then in the middle they'll make...
Didn't in the trial, though. Once again, they did the same thing. It's weird. I don't know.
So
Big
weird.
wash.
Big wash, yeah.
More to come.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.